Here in the realm of crypto, another good day looking at green candles, green days. That's really good. We are staying above $1 trillion. We are right now about $1.1 trillion, which looks good. And in last 24 hours, you can see a lot of coins doing 10, 15, 20% move. And say an average of 15% move is being observed in a lot of coins. And that's great to see. As the market picks up these signals showing it's gonna double over next couple of weeks or maybe a month, signals that yes, good days are here. As the altcoin market breaks this one, you are literally looking for it to double in coming days. So if you are in the right coins and you're observing the breakout here in Bitcoin, you're like, okay, fine, Bitcoin can go higher. Most likely it's going to be like $27,000, $28,000, where you are looking at overhead resistance. And if you are getting that level as overhead resistance, by that time you really want XRP to reach 0.7. Because if Bitcoin breaks that level, 28K, then XRP stand a chance to break this one and go back higher, where your resistance is much higher. Now, why is that so important? Right now, you are getting a lot of bad news. The current affairs is like pushing negative stuff here into the market. But if you are looking at that clearly, one by one, and breaking that down, you kind of get the agenda, what's happening there, right? How these are all interconnected. Because this literally shows you where we are going and how things are evolving. Now, let's break these down and discuss it in a way that we all understand it. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing regularly. Now, if you are looking at this, it really feels really odd for these guys to actually say such stuff. Now, when Warren Davidson put that one out there, it's kind of, is a little bit uncomfortable, kind of like, I can't answer that blah, 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 because it's a litigation, end quote. Now, it's getting attention. Things are running. When they actually suggest to you, it's, not something really good for the investors. It's harming them because their real quote-unquote job is to protect the investors, and they really failed to do this, and they're trying to go after this. Why is that, right? We just also saw this particular guy coming out and highlighting like, okay, you can't actually do this, this is so bad, blah 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 blah. And we are like, okay, what really is happening here? When these guys come out and try to call on this, we are like, okay, something outside is happening, and that's actually pushing the narrative with this. And if you are looking at what these guys are kind of giving you, that kind of makes sense. When the litigation is inside the court and it's for the court to decide whether that's an security or not, this guy comes out and say it's a security for you, it's a security for me, kind of putting that narrative outside, saying this is a security. And this doesn't actually fit well when we actually look at this. Like, digital asset investor highlights this one, right? Okay, look at his donors list, right? And if you are literally looking at that, it's all the bankers who are putting that money to him. He's being supported by them, right? This is from Crypto Queen, highlighting like congressman trying to shut down cryptocurrencies, get biggest donation from big banks and financial institutions. And it really makes sense because he's being funded by those guys and they are getting hit hard. Now, why does that matter? Because cryptocurrency market is slowly bouncing back higher, and as the market bounces back, the issues are people, human being, tend to move across from asset class to asset class when they see market going higher, when they see a bull market, to get the most out of it. And right now, they don't really want you to do that. They want that uncertainty to remain there. So you are not making money, and they can still hold your money in their assets and use it for what they want. That's what I personally think. And then this guy, right? You literally listen to this guy and kind of we'll break it down from there.
So maybe the big ones take too many resources to go after, so you just say, well they'll get a pass?
No, I'm very proud of the work that the 1,300 women, men in my division do. They don't give people a pass. They hold violators accountable.
Okay, let me.
Okay, now that kind of went through my head. And I'm like, is this guy even real? For me, that felt like, okay, that's so gross. Why? Now that's the point at which give that shout out to Jenkling for highlighting this. This guy is kind of coming out and saying we are doing everything best to kick the violators. Now, if you go and look at these, that's so bad for a lot of human beings. A lot of people who even committed suicide around the globe. And this guy is coming out and saying, no, we are going after all of these violators. And we look at them like, okay, they are fully focused on XRP and Ripple, the company, because they're fighting back and they have that big war chest. And I don't think SEC can even stand with them. That's one. Because the truth, wherever you hide it, it comes out one day. And that's what these guys are afraid of. When they are being funded by these institutions, and they are literally working for those institutions, they don't want you to make money in a new asset class which is beyond their reach. And they are trying to put their hand through that corner, making you think like, no, we have the authority, which they really don't. And these guys don't even really understand what this technology stands for or what the technology itself is. And they're trying to show you that we know the technology. Around the globe, Ripple, the company, and XRP, an asset, or XRP ledger as a great ledger, is getting adoption. People are doing pilots. People are exploring different options to build on that. And then here comes the US. They're like, no, we are not going to allow you that. You don't want to be the leader of this new technology, which is going to take over next 10, 20 years. The jobs, the GDP growth, everything is going to be based on this technology. But we don't want you to succeed. They want the F-gate to succeed, right? The Ether team. It's not a CC right now. We all know that. We've talked about this. It's stopping Ethereum's competition. And they are trying to do that as, they're being funded. All these guys, I personally think, are being funded using the gas fees which Ether cuts your throat and takes it out to give this. And they're literally making a ton of profit. Now, this all is happening because right now we are in a bull market, and it kind of shows you XRP is getting more and more attention. We are getting a lot of volume. The price is slowly going higher. And when we go higher, don't make any mistake. These guys, they are going to put heavy shots trying to slow this down, and especially at big resistance. Most likely not at the supports, because they know what they're doing, right? They would be levered, so they don't really want to get kicked out. But what you have to keep in mind is that as you reach some big resistance, this time you have a lot of resistance. Not only for XRP, a lot of different altcoins which are getting adoption. They don't want you to be in there, and they don't want this asset class to thrive. So what they will do, they will try to harm you. So you need to be aware that, okay, you're bouncing. If you are at this point, you may consider taking profit. Now, the entire market shows you different aspects. Like the MACD is about to cross back to the upside. The price can bounce, and it does have some room. RSI is going back into the trading pattern, where if it breaks to the upside, that's a different story. You're going even nuts. Now, you're looking at the altcoin market cap and you're like, okay, the price is doing this. What does that actually mean? So if you put the technical analysis in perspective, you're like, okay, we had this pattern. We broke that pattern to the upside. That's a short-term pattern. Then comes the long, medium-term resistance. And that one is also being broken right now. So from here, you're kind of like, you have 85% to the upside. And as the market goes higher, you're observing key resistance, because these resistance does matter. Because if you do understand this, we know that the market is doing really fine. You're looking at last 7 days and you're saying like, okay, we are having assets doing 50-60% over a week, and you have opportunities across the board. But if you don't really understand what the market is doing, then that's going to be really hard. We have actually highlighted this before, right? And going on to this particular one, this is actually a wax, right? We showed you like, okay, this is at $18, and most likely we are nearing our breakout. We saw that the RSI is about to break higher, and if you're going to look at that right now, you broke higher, you retested, you bounce. Right now, you are almost halfway through your target. So if you are in this asset class, looking at this, understanding that, okay, this is literally happening, this kind of gives you that advantage to buy in the market, to understand how things are evolving. We actually got these indicators. We've been doing that for all the assets in the Patreon, right? To see what their divergence are looking like. Some of them didn't have that. But if you are looking at this, here you got the indication. We are going down. Then we went down. Here you got the indication. We are actually going to go up. You went higher. So in this case, we were suggesting, okay, the price is moving lower and lower, whereas this is not. And then here comes the price action. You kind of go higher. You break this one. You're going higher. So that is a falling wedge, which happens to be a bullish pattern. And you broke that one. And the 21-day moving average retested that and bounced. So that's bullish. So you're looking at this on a daily. So don't forget, you're going to get resistance for the medium term, which will be on a 3-day chart. Then it goes to the Bitcoin. We were talking about Bitcoin, saying, okay, this literally can break higher. And if it's actually breaking 23, the doors are open all the way up to 27, 28. So as you enter back into the market and analyze the market, you are understanding that there is a lot of volume coming in. You're looking at this, volume is still there. People are trying to put sell, buy, all of that, and you're looking for Bitcoin. 1.12 billion in buy and 1.34 billion in sell right now. So you kind of understand that market dynamics. So you are getting more sellers right now. So if we are able to push a little bit higher, like we talked in last video, that means you have a lot of people to kick out from the market. They will be kicked out as the market goes higher, as the market gets more liquidity. So you get to go even higher. Yeah, kind of a short squeeze is going to come. And when that is coming, it's literally stop loss hunting to the upside. Now, we had these bad days where the stop loss hunting way to the downside. Buyers were being kicked out, and if you are levered, that's like, it's literally getting killed. So now you actually go to look at Ether, because we actually understand like that is kind of outperforming a lot of different altcoins right now in large caps, and you're asking that question, okay, how high it can go. We've talked about this before. If the price action is to continue, most likely you need to come test this range and go. So that for Ether actually means if this is going to continue another 50, 60, 70%, as we just highlighted, a lot of altcoins are going to run even higher. Now, you have a trend line here. You are waiting for this to see, like, are you going to break higher or are you going to slow down there? Because if you are slowing down, you now know that your support is this. You had a bear trap, a little bit of that, and then you bounced. So that bounce actually shows you like market is still getting interested. And the way I see this is like a next wave is starting here. And this is the bottom. You kind of show the market that this is the bottom possibility, right? Now, if you break through this range, yes, that is your bottom. And what you're eyeing at on a macro level is looking at the actual trend line, saying that, okay, this kind of makes sense. The trend line is still holding. You are still moving through for this trend line. And if you're putting this into perspective, you're like, okay, I do understand that each time you come down, you actually do this. And whenever you're coming down, it's not actually a good thing to observe the market doing this, right? You kind of get a bounce, and that bounce kind of, goes higher. Then you do this here. Then again, you go higher. You're doing the same here. Now, most likely, you are going to continue higher. So if that happens, it literally shows you the ability of price to go higher when everyone is calling out the top. So as you go higher and break this level, a lot of things will change. People will come out and suggest that this is a new market cycle. But understand this. If it is a new market cycle, you want prices to go 10, 50, 100x. Why? In the first cycle here, in the first wave, you have done 50x. And if you are claiming that's the entire market cycle, the next one should be 30, 40, 50. Fine. But if it's the next wave, the time is shorter, the upside is higher depending on which wave cycle it is in. If you are going to look at Bitcoin and you put Bitcoin on a weekly, this for me is like a no-brainer. It's kind of something which everyone can actually understand. You do this, you go up. Then again, you are consolidating in that range and you are most likely going back up. That's why we told you keep an eye here. If you're breaking through that 31K, that does mean that you are now eyeing the all-time highs of 50, so 65, 69. So as you break through that, that's your wave 3. So if you understand the wave structure, you're clearly kind of putting that narrative. Okay, you did wave 1, you consolidated here. You did wave 2, you consolidated here. Got a capitulation here too, and you're going back. That actually shows you you're most likely gonna get wave 3 there. So if wave 3 is gonna end here, coming up, not 200, I think maybe 120, 125 is the possibility, because our bottom is close to 117K. If you take that bottom and say like, okay, you're going all the way up to 120, 125, that kind of gives you like 600% to the upside. And if you're actually observing how much we did in wave 1, it was like 400%. So that is even higher than that level of wave 1. So if you take that into consideration and call Bitcoin is in a bear market, good luck. But again, you need to actually wait and see how the market responds, because you now have a lot of status quo going against you, trying to push you out. But the price and indicators, if you are following them, they kind of give you the narrative that we are bouncing. As usual, you come back to the support, you bounce. So if you are breaking through this one, that kind of gives you the understanding like, okay, this just happened, but what you can look from here is going to be this range. Now we need to actually put this into perspective. Like, you need to understand usually rising wedge, right? Rising broadening wedge is bearish. So if you are going higher, I don't think you are going to like $400,000. Most likely you may come here, slow down, and then go back down. So you're following a lot of different assets, and you can actually understand like, okay, market kind of tend to rhyme for a lot of different coins, and you are looking at this, right? We have actually seen this stuff. Now, if you are putting that on a weekly chart, it may be a little bit unclear. So we'll actually go on to a 3-day chart, and there's XLM on a 3-day. So if we put this into perspective, you are actually looking at it like this. Okay, the trend is going upside, fine. You were actually slowly moving like this, great. But you did not actually go touch the upside. You kind of tested just above this range and slowly went below. So if that is coming, keep an eye on Bitcoin. But right now you have a lot of room for even that to happen inside Bitcoin. But market is not going to go just one candle all the way up there. You need to keep that in mind. Weekly chart, it looks really smooth. 3-day chart, it looks smooth. On a daily or 4-hour, you're going to get a volatility. It's going to go 10, 20, 30% to the upside and then drop similarly, right? So if you're in the market, make sure you're not completely levered, because that can literally hurt you. It can come down, kick you out, and then go back higher. As we break out through this, keep this in your mind. Short-term breakouts are here. That's good. That's actually great. As you observe these breakouts, you do understand like, okay, you take the measured move, you're plotting that, and if you're trading, you take profit. If you're buying, averaging down, you buy average down here. You don't buy average down at the resistance. You still have time to wait for it to go to the all-time high. So if you are going through our next 5-6x, you reach the recent all-time high of $2. Now that is for a lot of people a good rally, where you should be taking some of your profits, because in case there is some bad news and the price slow down, you still have dry powder to buy more if you want, or to stay liquid when the market is irrational, because the market can be irrational for a long time. And what you really need to understand is like, we are taking the measured move, we are putting that into perspective, and we are like, okay, that makes sense, right? So as you go higher, rebalance your portfolio, understand which asset is going to do well, understand which asset is down the drain and it's now coming back up, because we have a lot of different examples. So make sure you understand what the market is suggesting here, because I see a lot of people having trouble with the Celsius, right? They are literally going on chapter 1 bankruptcy, and a lot of retailers are going to get hurt. That's really bad to see people getting hurt. And that's why we always suggest like, have a ledger, move it to a ledger, or try using exchanges like Binance, try using exchanges like Bitrue. Like, okay, go for big exchanges where there is a lot of volume and they have a lot of liquidity. that usually tends to give you proper base. And even in that case, keep 80% of your assets in your custody, not with them, because they will always come out and say like, we are secure, we are going to do this, you're going to get yield, blah blah blah. But it makes sense to keep it with you, unless it's a small asset, it's like, a tiny position in your portfolio, you don't want to risk. But even in that case, understand this, having some in exchange, 5-10% is actually okay, and it's actually good when these kind of pumps happen. And let's say one day you kind of see 100% 200% run up, and that's actually great. You can take the profit then and there. You don't have to move that from the ledger to the exchange and then do that. That's easy. So in this way, if you are receiving value, please do hit that like and subscribe button. So guys, if you want these kind of updates on right time to see the breakouts, and as you break higher and your targets, do look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below, where you kind of get a lot of breakouts. Now recently, at least in last 1 week, we had a lot of breakout calls, and within last 3 days, a lot of them already broke higher. A lot of them are going towards target. Some of them already half the target. So if you are going to make money in this market, don't be slow. You will have macro dates coming in. Say July 27th, you're going to get Fed coming out with hike, and I think maybe it's going to be 100 basis point hike, but we don't know what they're going to do. 75, 125, who knows? But that can have some impact on the market. So you need to stay there and analyze. What if it's 125? What if it's 75? What if it's 100? Right? And try to understand that, because at that point the market would be volatile, and you need to make sure if it's volatile to the downside, you need to have dry powder. If it's 20-30% drop from wherever you reach in next week, you may have a buying opportunity. So if you are reaching your resistance before that, make sure you take the profit. So that's it, guys. I'll meet you on the next video. Bye for now.